Hi, my name is Brian Samukian. I'm a data analyst at TalentPath. Welcome to my presentation on gender inequality. So to get things started, we have a few different gender and financial indices that we'll be working with for this presentation. And the purpose of this presentation is to prove that the gender indices have an impact on the financial index. So the gender development index is a value we want to be higher, and gender inequality is a value that we want to be lower. So we will notice in this presentation that countries that have higher gender development indexes and lower gender inequalities will have greater financial development indices. And also, for anyone interested, you can actually read more about each of these indices by clicking on these links. I highly recommend browsing the Financial Development Index, since it is a very complex index and it is beyond the scope of this presentation to dive too deep into it. But now let's move on to the dashboard. So for this dashboard at the top left, we have the global averages for the GDI, GII, and FDI for any given year. If you click on a country on the map, it won't actually change those values, so you can always compare the values to whatever countries you're inspecting. And we also have a year filter. If you don't select a year, it will by default average all of the values between 1990 and 2013, which is not really the kind of information we're looking for here. So right now we're using the year 2005, but keep that in mind for whenever you're browsing through this dashboard yourself. Now at the top of the page, we have three unique histograms. We have a FDI histogram, GII, and GDI. So let's take a look at the FDI histogram. It says here that 0.07, so 7% of the values lie between 0.76 and 0.91, meaning that 7% of countries had FDIs that were between 0.76 and 0.91. And I can actually click that right here. And we will see on the map here and even on the list here, it's only showing us the countries that have FDIs that fall in between those two values. Keep in mind that the heat map is actually by default showing gender development, so you'll have to change that to financial development. So let me unclick this, and we can browse through the different heat maps. So we have the gender development heat map, we have the gender inequality heat map, and we have the financial development heat map. And something you may have noticed right away is that the financial development heat map and the gender development heat map have very similar color schemes, meaning that there are a lot of countries who have high gender development values that also have high financial development, which seems to indicate to us that there definitely exists a relationship between gender development and financial development. And we can explore that relationship in greater detail using the scatter plot in the bottom right. Now I'm going to turn off the year filters for this because I want more information in the scatter plot. And so what we're seeing in the scatter plot here is the x-axis represents GDI and the y-axis represents FDI. And what's happening here with the colors is that the purple values have above average FDIs and the pink values have below average FDIs. So something that may strike you right away is that there are very few purple values on the lower end of GDI. However, when you have a high GDI, it doesn't necessarily seem to guarantee that you will have a high FDI. We'll see right over here, the absolute highest recorded GDI value, I'm going to try and click on it for us right here, is Myanmar with a GDI of 1.1, highest GDI in the entire world. And yet their FDI is also amongst the lowest in the world, which seems to indicate to us that, raising your GDI is not necessarily going to guaranteed increase the FDI of your country. However, if you take a look at this graph, it definitely seems to show that a country cannot reach its maximum financial development potential without improving its gender conditions in its country. If your GDI is low, your FDI cannot be high. But if your GDI is high, the maximum potential of the financial development of your country raises very significantly. And now, as a last extra piece for this presentation, if you wanted to see extra information about any country, for example, we got India right here, we can right click it, more details. And you can see some in-depth information on India. And we can even see that the data is supported here as well. In India, as the Gender Development Index rose over the years, its Financial Development Index was also rising. And as the Gender Inequality Index fell, the Financial Index was also rising. So that's it for the presentation. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at my email, bsamukian@talentpath.com. Thank you so much. Have a great day.